Naruto, I'll be okay. Getting ready to fight on sight. Got my best friends by my side. Sasuke is really cool. Sakura, the beautiful.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wasting Time cast. Since this is our first episode, I guess it's important that we tell you who we are. We are your esteemed time wasters for the night, Chris and Gray. I will start by introducing myself. As I've said, I am Chris, and my hobbies include everything. So, Gray, I guess you can go now.
My name is Gray, and you may know me around the internet as Gray Bob. But I'm also a fan of pretty much everything: anime, video games, TV shows, movies, and I also do art stuff on occasion.
Yay, art stuff. So we decided that since we enjoy pretty much all forms of media and talk about it for hours on end anyway, we figured why not turn it into a podcast that you can listen to while you do things and you can waste your time with us. So today we are going to be talking about a series that has been going on, I guess, for 15 years now. And it just had, and it just had its ending a few days ago. And we're going to talk about it because it just feels right. We are talking, of course, about Naruto.
Yeah, and the last chapters were, like, just today, the official release date for them. And, like, we were thinking that it would be good to get them talked about, like, as soon as possible when it's still in everybody's minds.
Yeah, well, it's still relevant to talk about it, and we're definitely gonna get into those last chapters. It's definitely a huge topic of discussion, but I feel like it's important in order for you guys to understand how we feel about this epilogue, because this definitely plays a part as what we think about the series as a whole. So we're gonna go over like the things you'd expect, like favorite characters, things like that, and we're also gonna be discussing each arc that happened in the series, our thoughts on it, what worked, what didn't, and we'll get into some more interesting stuff as we go. But I think the best place to start is favorite characters. Since this is such a large cast of characters, you have to have a favorite and a least favorite. So we're gonna each give you our thoughts on that. So Gray, how would you like to go first? And who is your favorite Naruto character?
I don't even have to think about that. That's such an easy question for me. It's Shikamaru.
Yeah, I mean, I knew yours was going to be Shikamaru, and I was going to say Shikamaru too, but I kind of wanted to give a different answer just to be different, but there's no contest. Yeah. It's easily Shikamaru.
Like, the thing about him that's so interesting is that he's not the typical shonen character. He doesn't even fit any real stereotypes at all, because he's really intelligent, but he's not like a super goofball about anything. He's not prideful. He's not...
Right.
Like, he doesn't fit any of those usual modes.
Right. My reasoning for liking Shikamaru as much as I do, like, I also like that he kind of bucks the usual shonen trends, but the thing that I like most about him is I think that he has the most interesting fights in the series, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we discuss each arc, but he seems to be, he's the only character who's really interesting. He's given actual, he has great character moments. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but like with Asuma and the fights he has with Hidan, the fight he has with Temari, he's just one of those characters who you're actually interested to learn more about, whereas a lot of other characters you just aren't.
Yeah. Also, he gets to use, because he's more intelligent than the other characters, he actually uses like strategy in his fights, which is one of the things that makes his fights more interesting than some of the others.
Yeah, that's another thing I was actually going to add to that. Another reason why I like Shikamaru is just not even just the strategic part. I really like his powers.
That's true.
I was like, they're not overpowered to the point of like how could he possibly lose any fight he ever has. But they're interesting while not being overpowered, and I really like that about him.
Yeah, in shonen manga, you usually end up with a lot of energy attacks, and that's kind of, a lot of the powers are just variations on that. So the fact that he has a more interesting power is definitely a bonus.
Definitely. But like we said the word there, uninteresting character, and that will lead us into our least favorite characters, and I worry that our answers are going to be the same again.
I don't know, because
here.
for me, it's I had a hard time deciding this. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I still am really torn between either Sasuke or Sakura, because it's kind of hard to pick. But ultimately, for reasons we're going to discuss later, I think I've got to go with Sasuke.
Yeah. That's what I was worried our answers were going to be the same again. But you know what? Again, you'll find viewers that Gray and I are a lot of times on pretty much the same wavelengths when it comes to Naruto, what we like and what we don't like, and I had essentially the exact same dilemmas. Like, well, I want to pick Sasuke because it seems like the obvious answer, and then you know what? No, it's the right answer. The worst character in Naruto is Sasuke. It's like I want to say it's just somebody from Team 7, but no, it's just Sasuke. It's like no other character has infuriated me in any manga series that I have read more than Sasuke.
Yeah.
It's just he is just I hate so much about him, from his bullshit motivations to the bullshit powers that he pulls out of his ass later in the series. Just his dumb reasoning and logic is just anybody with a brain could make better decisions than Sasuke. So that's why I don't like him.
I think you could make a good argument with Sakura too, because at least
and that she just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, at least Sasuke does things that affect the plot.
That's true, but on the same token, you could really like the reason why I don't give that to Sakura is for that you could just blame Kishimoto.
That's true.
For not giving her anything to do, because you could say the exact same thing about dozens of other characters
like Tenten,
who are introduced in the series that do just as little, if not less, than Sakura.
Like Tenten.
Like Tenten. Like, what does she even
do?
Nothing. Exactly.
She likes weapons. Like, she's not even like an expert at weapons or a master at using weapons. She just likes them.
She just likes them. She's fucking terrible. She is so bad. Her only fight is off screen, and you just see a bunch of weapons scattered around. So she just has a bunch of weapons, and she's shit with all of them. It's like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean where Jack Sparrow's fighting Orlando Bloom, and it's like, who makes all these? But in Tenten's case, instead of saying I do and I practice with them 3 hours a day, she would just say I do and I throw them at people. And it doesn't work.
Going back to Sasuke for a second, another interesting thing about him, and like how bad he is, I guess, is that he was originally, I don't know how many people listening will know this, but he started out as an editorial mandate. Like, his editor came up to him and he was like, you're developing the series right now, it's all good to go, but I think it needs a little something extra. How about you add a stereotypical rival character?
And I'm sure it was pitched just like that. A stereotypical mandate. Yeah, he was added in that way, but, man, Sasuke's so terrible. But we're gonna shift gears a little bit to kind of an in-the-middle kind of question between favorite and least favorite. And viewers at home, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this as well. If you'd like to comment, audience participation is always welcomed.
Oh, yes.
This question, I thought about it, and I was kind of impressed with myself for coming up with an interesting question. And it is, what is like, a lot of characters in this series are woefully underutilized. And everybody thinks they can do better than the writers, so this is your chance. What character in Naruto that was underutilized but you think had either an interesting backstory, power, some interesting quality about them, what would you have done differently with them to, take advantage of that interesting quality?
This is another kind of difficult question, and because there's so many underused characters, and despite that, I'm kind of worried that we have the same answer again. Because my answer is Deidara of Atatsuki.
Our answer is not the
Oh,
same.
okay. That's good, at least. Deidara I thought was really interesting because he had a cool power. He was an interesting-looking character design-wise, which is, I guess not that big of a thing, but it is something. And he also had an interesting personality because, like, one of the things that makes a really good character is that they have a unique worldview, and, like,
Yeah.
he did. He was an artist, but he wasn't just, like, a stereotypical artist. He had his own philosophy about art, where it was like, oh, art should be transcendent and, like, fleeting.
And explosive.
Yes, like, literally explosive.
Literally explosive. That was the most important part.
But they do nothing with him because he fights. He has, like, a very brief fight in one arc against Kakashi and Naruto. And then he doesn't play into anything again until Sasuke murders him.
Yeah.
And it's not even in an arc that has anything to do with Deidara or Sasuke being concerned with Deidara. He just shows up, tries to fight Sasuke, and dies, and it's so disappointing.
Yeah. Like, that was the other... to kind of add on to that point of Deidara just kind of fucking dying, and then, again, we'll talk about this when we talk about the Great Shinobi War arc, when everybody gets brought back as zombies in the most fucking retarded thing in all of history. You know, like, my thought on that was like, oh, cool, Deidara, that's an interesting... Oh, he's dead, okay.
Yeah.
Well, oh, well, I was kind of interested in him, but I guess they didn't have anything they wanted to do with him. Oh, well, oh, cool, they brought him back as... Oh, he's dead again, okay, never mind.
They brought him back just to have him do nothing a second time. And, like, I think the obvious answer to what to do with him that would be better was to give him his own arc where he was a major villain, because Sasori had his own arc where he was a major villain. That was the one where they kidnapped Gaara. And Deidara was a big part of that too, but not really, because he didn't really do that much during it.
He was just there.
He was pretty much just there, and, like, he survived, so it seemed like he should have gone on to do more. But then...
He did. He went on to get murdered.
but then, like, Kakuzu and Hidan have their own arc where they're the major villains, and a lot of the Akatsuki members have these big arcs where they're a big part of it, and Deidara just doesn't have one of those.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree, and our answers are not the same, and I think you might be surprised by who my answer actually is. Because we've talked about this character as essentially just being a little shit. My answer is Konohamaru.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Bolt.
No, fuck that. I hate that. No, my answer is Konohamaru, and the reason why is because that is an organic rival. Unlike Sasuke, who was a mandatory addition, who went on to be a bullshit, horrible character, Konohamaru is not the greatest character, and he doesn't really have any interesting powers. Really, the only interesting thing about him is that he has a kind of preposterous scarf. That's his only character trait, really. But what I find interesting about him is his origin, where he starts off, again, as kind of another annoying little kid character, who, like Naruto, has the problem with authority, but his is more of a goofy thing, like his failed assassination attempts on his grandfather that are really just played up for laughs. But in that is, I think, one of the arcs, and again, we'll talk about it as we go on, but that was one of the arcs where it kind of showed off, like, good moments for Naruto as a character, where he kind of, in a way, takes this kid under his wing, but Konohamaru sees it as a rivalry, and I think that there's something that could be done with that, but to the point where they said, like, oh, Naruto, you know, if you want to be the Hokage, you gotta go through me, haha. You know, and that was just kind of played as like okay, we're never going back to this stupid little kid again. But I feel like they should have, because that's like a rivalry you already have there.
Yeah.
one that kind of sprouted through the characters interacting with each other and spending time together, as opposed to, a writer just saying, these two are rivals because I said so.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of in One Piece, where Kobe is in there early on, and like they build up that friendship, and then Kobe comes back later as an actual like Marine, and they're actually fighting against each other, but they still have that respect for each other.
Right, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's the kind of thing I feel that their relationship was missing outside of a couple one-off moments later on in Shippuden when they're all older. Like there's just like kind of passing moments, as opposed to that rivalry kind of being explored, and that's something that I would have done. I would have, with the death of his, and that's another thing with all the deaths surrounding Konohamaru.
That's true, because Asuma was his uncle.
Asuma was his uncle. Sarutobi is his grandfather, both dead. In such a small village where it seems like everybody's kind of a tight-knit group, for all that death to really not, show on him at all.
At least not that we see.
Yeah, at least not that we see.
I think he's at the funeral for the third, but that's about it.
But that's expected, It's like it'd be weirder if he wasn't there. But, none of that is ever explored after, all of these direct relations to him are killed.
Yeah.
We never see what becomes of that, and that's something I would have shown.
Yeah, we see a very small amount of his character development in Shippuden, like you kind of mentioned, but it's so little.
All right. Now, with all of that said, we're gonna move on now to the kind of the meat and potatoes of our podcast, which is the arc by arc discussion. I've got we've counted 16 arcs in Naruto, some of which we'll have more interesting discussions about. Others are kind of I barely remember. But,
I've looked up most of them and what happens in most of them, so I can kind of give a brief recap.
Well, that's good.
You need it.
I will certainly need it for the most part, because I tend to go stream of conscious, and I remember most stuff from pretty much all of these arcs that we have here, but you gotta keep in mind, I've been sporadically reading Naruto over the past, I didn't start reading it 15 years ago. I started reading it like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and I was off and on until a few years ago when I started really reading it, and then more recently it's just been
Yeah.
But let's start with when the show actually had some promise at the beginning.
Oh, definitely.
With our first arc, the introduction to the series arc. If it had a better name, I'm sure it had a better name, but I just called it the introduction.
I think officially it's just called the introduction arc.
Oh, fucking sweet. That was a good guess by me. So, the introduction arc. We're introduced to all of our characters, the scene is set, and it did a decent job at that, I think.
Yeah, we get our setting, which is this weird ninja world that for some reason has some modern technology, but they don't actually use it in situations where it would be useful.
It's trapped in a weird time vortex where they have outboard motors, but not a Glock.
And the guy still has to row the rowboat anyways.
He has to row even though it has a motor. Oh, foolish. But we're introduced to our main characters here. There's really not much to say about an introduction arc. I just think it did its job well.
Yeah, I remember it had some dumb humor, but it does a good job of setting the scene. And there's also that training sequence with Kakashi and the bells, which I actually quite liked, them having to learn to use teamwork together.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that, definitely. But again, like I said, not much to say really about the introduction arc. But our next arc, we'll probably have some interesting things to say, and that is the first major arc of the Land of Waves. The Land of Waves arc.
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
I really like the Land of Waves arc. I know it's a lot of people's favorites. I like the Chunin exam a little bit more, but the Land of Waves does have a lot of really good stuff going for it. Especially the villains, Haku and Zabuza.
Yeah.
They were really interesting. Their relationship was interesting. Their character development and how they end up kind of helping in the end is interesting.
Yeah. It was, like you said, a lot of people put the Land of Waves as their favorite arc, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't my favorite arc as well, because I feel like that was the arc that really got me into the series in the first place, where I was like, okay, this isn't just some... I mean, it's got dumb humor, but I think this is a series that I could really stick out because, you know, if you're right, this didn't end up happening, but, you know, at the time you read something like that, you're like, man, if all the arcs are like this is going to be a great series.
Yeah.
And it, pretty much for the reasons you said, the villains are interesting. Zabuza and Haku's relationship is really well done. Even like kind of the rivalry with Naruto and Sasuke is actually, you know, pretty good in this bit. Like, again, they kind of bond as, you know, friends, like you would kind of expect. And even Sakura is given, you know, well, kind of still...
Not much, but a little bit.
Not much. I mean, the whole thing of letting her be the one who has the best control of chakra and all that, I feel like that was something good for all of those characters. Just everybody had good moments in that one, and I really liked it. So
yeah, even the little thing between Naruto and Inari, I think that was the kid's name, where he was kind of mentoring him, kind of like he did with Konohamaru.
Yeah,
that had some good moments too. Like I really actually like Naruto's little speech in there, where he tells Inari like what it really means to be a ninja, to be a man, why you don't have to cry, you know?
Yeah. I also really like I said, that it's just those little things in it, but especially I usually am annoyed when a villainous character has redemption moments, because a lot of times they feel unjustified. Right.
Oh, and
but I think this
we'll get to that too.
Well, yeah, there's plenty of those, and I feel like this was one. But that's not specific to Naruto. I feel like a lot of series don't really do that well.
Right.
But I think this arc really did it well. I really liked Zabuza and Haku as villains, and their redemption moments were fantastic for the both of them. So really good arc. That's why it's one of my favorites. But,
oh yeah.
The one right after it is also a good one. Like you said, you kind of viewed it as a little more of your favorite, and that is the Chunin exams, which I also really liked. Again, like I said, this is the part of the series where it was really showing some promise, had some good arcs, and the Chunin exams, it was just showing off like everybody else's kind of powers, see how, you know, try and find the characters you thought were interesting and go from there. I really liked actually the one of the initial challenges of the test that I don't remember the instructor's name, but the one who says like, you're gonna answer all these questions and then you have to make a bet on the last one. I was like, I really liked that.
I think it was Ibiki. I think that was the guy's name.
Ibiki, yes, that is his name. Yes, you're right.
I'm pretty good with names.
I knew as soon as you said it, I would know who it is. But yes, Ibiki.
But yeah, I really like that, because the whole Chunin exam could have been a tournament arc, and that could have been it. I do like that we get that early written portion, because it's really creative. Like, the idea that they're ninjas, so they'd have to cheat, is really interesting.
Yeah, I really like that. Even though you could say that some of the ways in which they cheated are a bit silly, but like Konkoro using his puppet, like, I wonder what he's gonna do.
I make an eye out of sand.
Yeah, some of it was a bit ridiculous, but I also liked that. Like, they had to use their powers to cheat. I liked that, and then from there they kind of got into the more tournament arc aspects. Which even then there were some fights in there that I really hated Naruto's fight with Kiba.
Oh, when he farts in his face, that one was so stupid.
Farts in his face.
But
that is it. Thank God Shippuden was so much worse, because if it wasn't, then that would be the worst fight of all time.
Oh, but there's so many like really good fights in that arc. Otherwise,
oh yeah, like Lee's fight with Gaara was phenomenal.
That's a great one.
I really liked it.
There's All of Shikamaru's fights are interesting, of course.
Yeah. You can't you can't knock 10-10's fight with Tamari.
You mean the one that happens off panel in the manga?
Yes, that would be the one.
Oh, that was my favorite.
Where it cuts away, and when it cuts back, there's just a bunch of weapons on the floor, and she's fucking impaled.
Impaled by a fan.
Oh
somehow.
well. Thanks for coming. But after that, then it was the Forest of Death.
Oh, that's before the tournament arc.
That was before the tournament part. I know I skipped it. I was like, oh shit, forgot the Forest of Death. But I like the Forest of Death too. Like
right.
With the Sound Ninja trying to was it the Sound Ninja trying to impersonate Naruto, and Sasuke's like, ha, I gotcha.
I think it was like Waterfall Ninja or something weird like that.
Are you sure? Because it was
Was it?
It was Orochimaru and Kabuto's
Oh, okay.
schlubs. They were the Sound Ninja.
That's right. I don't specifically remember that part too well.
Because they had the little musical notes on their headbands.
Yes, you are correct. You are right.
So, I kind of like that. But the tournament was well done too,
Right.
and again, it led into some of the best fights in the series. Like, I kind of like the lead up to Sasuke and Gaara's fight.
That was a pretty good fight, despite it involving Sasuke.
Yeah, I was like, say what you want about him. At least he was involved in some pretty good fights.
Yeah, early on at least. Another
Yeah.
good thing that the Chunin exam arc does in general is something we've kind of been mentioning along the way, is that it introduces like all these secondary characters, and you can argue that there's like way too many, but at least a lot of them are interesting. Like you get Orochimaru in this arc, you get Jiraiya's first introduced, Shikamaru's first introduced, Hinata, like Rock Lee, all these characters just get to show up and get to show off what they can do.
Yeah, some more so than others, of course, but yeah, but like I said, this is another reason why I really like the Chunin exam arc, is it was able to introduce me to a lot of characters that I figured I was gonna like, especially Shikamaru. I've always kind of liked Neji, Gaara, Kankuro, Tamari. Like I like a lot of those characters, and this was definitely a good introduction for them. But our next arc also introduced a new character, and it is the Tsunade arc, where they Sarutobi is killed, and they're going to go get Lady Tsunade to be the new Hokage.
Right. And at the same time, Orochimaru's arms were sealed during that fight, which was also a good fight that we didn't mention that took place in the Chunin exam.
That's right.
Orochimaru versus the third. That was a good fight.
Yeah. That was a really good fight, especially with bringing him bringing the first and the second out to fight the third. I thought that was an interesting moment as well. But yeah, their fight was really good. It's actually if you've ever played, I think it's Naruto: The Broken Bond video game. It was only released on the Xbox 360, but that's the very first thing. The very first fight you have in that game is you play as Sarutobi fighting Orochimaru, and that's actually a really fun fight in that game too. Totally off topic, but Tsunade, since the third is dead, they need a new Hokage.
Orochimaru wants his arms unsealed, and she's the only one that can do it. That's
a pretty good motivation for him, I would think.
Yeah.
I got stuff I need to do with these.
Yeah.
Unseal them. So, and I liked, what I really liked about the Tsunade arc was showing the relationship between Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. It's one thing that I think the series would later rely on a little too much, where characters just so happened to be part of a team of three,
right.
and they all fell into the same kind of Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura character type.
The hyperactive
one was kind of obnoxious, one was, kind of a bit of a git, and then there was the useless one.
Yeah, you've got like your cool prodigy, your annoying asshole, and your girl.
Yeah, and then your girl. But I thought it worked rather well with Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya.
But the unfortunate thing about that arc is I think that's kind of the only notable thing about that arc, is that relationship.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember anything else about it at all.
Neither do I. The only other thing I remember is Jiraiya. That is when he is teaching Naruto the Rasengan.
That is true.
That is, those are the, but yeah, that relationship and the fact that she eventually says yes are really the only things I remember about the Tsunade arc.
There's some things about Tsunade's backstory in particular as well, but I can't be bothered to remember any of it.
Don't they make just comments about her boobs?
I feel like there's a lot of that in that arc.
It probably.
Also making fun of her for being a drunk gambler all the time.
I'm kind of cool with that, though. At least it's something different. Not for shonen, but just
for that kind of character.
For that, yeah. For somebody who's going to be in that position. But our next arc is when things sort of start to go downhill, and that is the Sasuke leaving arc.
Oh, I'm actually going to disagree. I actually really like this arc.
Okay.
There's a lot of good fights in it. There's I can't even pick out any in particular. It'd probably be easier to say which ones I like the least than the ones I like the most, because I didn't really care for Choji's fight, but all the other ones I thought were interesting.
Yeah, Choji's fight. I barely remember that one. I'm sure it was terrible because it was Choji, but
like Shikamaru has a cool fight that Tamari also gets involved with there, and there's Rock Lee versus Kimimaro.
Oh yeah, that was a really good one. Rock Lee and Kimimaro. I forgot about that one. Yeah, you're right. That was a really good fight. I like that one a lot. When I say it was like the kind of the start of things going, my problem with the Sasuke leaving arc was, the first word.
Oh, Sasuke. Yeah, that's true.
Sasuke leaving, his reasons for leaving. It was when you really started to see that he was, this is when most people who were following the series, who weren't just like the crazy, hardcore fan base, were like, well, I didn't think he was all that fantastic of a character beforehand. He had his moments, but that is, at least in my thoughts, that's when most people started to kind of hate him as a character. At least that's when it started for me, where it was like, this is not even logic. Like, what is happening?
I can see that, but I do kind of think that at that point, at least, his motivations made a little bit of sense. Because
a little bit, but like I said, that's when it's the start of things going downhill. Like, things hadn't gone downhill yet because there still were some good fights. But
okay, I gotcha. I also like the actual Naruto versus Sasuke fight that caps off the first part of the series in that arc as well. I think that's a pretty good fight as well.
I agree, and I like that it happens at the was it the Valley of the End? Is that what it's called?
Yep. Too bad they reused that shit at the very end again.
Yeah, I knew they were gonna, and we'll get into that, but I knew they were gonna do that shit. As soon as I was like, oh, they're gonna fight? Oh, wonder where. But, yeah, the Sasuke leaving arc, great fights, it starts of some character no-nos happening, but...
We'll get into that later, though.
Yeah, definitely. But our next arc is the start of Shippuden. Our characters are older. It's been, 3 years now? Naruto's gone from 12 to about 15.
It's 2 or 3 years. I can't remember exactly.
It's 2 or 3. I think he goes because he's 12 in the original arc, and I think he's 15. So I think we'll just be safe and say 3 years.
That sounds right.
Have passed. And our first major arc, after we're reintroduced to everybody, is the Rescuing Gaara arc. Which I actually kind of liked.
I actually like this arc as well.
It's kind of I don't think it was as good as like Land of Waves as being like a first major arc of a new series or a new part of the series. But I still think it did its job really well. Like I said, Gaara is one of my favorite characters, and there were a lot of good moments in it. So.
Yeah, like even Sakura. It's the home of Sakura's best fight in the entire series. Her only good fight, that is. But it's also actually really good. Sasori versus Sakura. And Chio's there as well, but...
Yeah, I really like... Chie was there, but Sasori versus Sakura was a really... like you said, I thought that was... I agree, it was a really good fight. and it like again like Land of Waves, it's one of those arcs where pretty much all the characters involved all get pretty good moments.
Right.
And it's again like Land of Waves, it's the one that shows promise to make you think like, oh yeah, this is where it's it's gonna retain that quality that it had in its previous series, but I don't think it did, because our next arc
Actually, isn't our next arc? Oh wait, no, it's the Science Sasuke arc, isn't it?
Yeah, our next arc is Science Sasuke.
I was thinking it was the one after this one.
No, it's Science Sasuke.
You know why I forgot about this arc? Is because it's so forgettable.
Yeah, what even Sai happens.
Sai is introduced. That's the
Sai
major
is introduced
thing.
along with Yamato.
Yeah, and who cares about
the Anbu,
Danzo?
Danzo, the Root people.
Yeah, and
that whole thing.
All of this is like, who cares about any of this?
I barely remember anything. I remember Sai being introduced, and I remember reading it and being like, okay, he's Sasuke.
Basically, but the other major thing, speaking of Sasuke, that happens in this arc, since it's called the Science Sasuke arc, is that they have a reunion briefly with Sasuke again, and I don't remember anything about it. I know they fight. I think Naruto goes into the Tailed Fox mode. I know he does when he fights Orochimaru on the bridge at the beginning of this arc. I think he also does it again when he fights Sasuke at the end of it as well.
I don't remember it. Like you said, it's such a forgettable arc, and you actually like read up and looked some information up before.
And I've already forgotten some of it.
Yeah, I have forgotten so much from the Science Sasuke arc. Like again, all I remember was Sai thinking he's just like Sasuke, only he's got the paintbrush power,
which is an interesting power. Too bad he's not an interesting character.
They should have just called him Scribble Knot.
Like, One Piece does that power so much better, because they have a character in there now. He's a pretty minor character, but he has that drawing power where he draws things and they come to life, but he's a terrible artist, so...
Yeah, so at least they do something a little interesting like it, but with Sai, it was just, oh my god, his drawings are beautiful. Yeah, there's just not much to say about this arc. So I think it's just best if we move on to an arc that I think we both actually really like, and that's the Hidan and Kakuzu arc, and I love that one. It was like, we both said Shikamaru's our favorite, and that's I contend that's one of the best fights in the series, period.
Hidan versus Shikamaru is like hands down one of the best fights. It is so good.
No contest. I love it.
It's not even that he's one of the best characters, but that one of these like minor side characters actually gets like this big moment is in and of itself is really cool. And there's a lot of emotion with Asama. What's his name?
Yeah.
Asuma. With him dying, there's a lot of good emotion there. There's a lot of stakes with the that team. I think it's not Team 8. That's Hinata's team. What team are they? Do you remember?
It's Choji, and Shikamaru. It's Team 6?
I think it's Team 6. I think you're right. But anyways, there's a lot of stakes there with them wanting kind of like revenge on the people who killed Azuma.
Yeah.
There's the other fight in that arc is pretty good too. It's not nearly as good as the Shikamaru fight, but Kakuzu versus Team 6 in Naruto, that's also pretty good. And Naruto gets his other new attack that isn't actually very interesting. Where he punches people with a giant energy shuriken.
When you say it like that, it just sounds positively boring. I completely agree. The fight with Kakuzu and the rest of Team 6 and Naruto, that fight was okay, but Shikamaru and Hidan, that fight was just... I loved it because when the Hidan is first introduced and they say his power is that he's immortal, I was like, fucking, they're gonna have to pull out some sort of ridiculous shit out of their ass to defeat him, but Shikamaru manages to use a combination of he uses his intelligence, he uses his powers, and he uses everything around him really well to defeat him. And like like it's still like it's a satisfying fight, and I really like the conclusion to it, like with what happens to Hidan.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
I
so cool.
chop his goddamn head off and they bury it in the
That's
ground.
so cool. And I guess we haven't mentioned it yet, and I guess people who listen to this are probably going to be familiar with Naruto enough to know, but we should probably mention what Shikamaru's power actually is, and that's shadow manipulation.
Yeah, the shadow manipulation. Yeah, again, most of the people who have listened to us babble, we've been talking for 40 minutes about Naruto.
That's true.
If you've made it this far, chances are you know at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And you probably agree with us for the most part.
Hopefully.
So you probably already knew. But for those of you who are just listening to us ramble about a show we kind of don't like, Shikamaru's power is, in fact, shadow manipulation. And intelligence. That's also a power, because not a lot of other characters in Naruto have
in that series, it's basically a superhuman power.
It is. It's like way more interesting than being able to clone yourself. It's just having some routine intelligence.
Or having bullshit eye powers.
Yeah, oh god, that becomes again as we go on.
Yeah.
After Hidan and Kakuzu, we have. I didn't know what this arc was called, so I just called it. And this is going to be a spoiler, so for those of you,
I don't think anybody listening this long to this.
For the silly people from the last arc who are like, God damn, they're just spoiling this entire series. I just called it the Killing Orochimaru and Itachi arc. It probably has another name, but I didn't care to find out what it was.
I think it's like the Pursuing Itachi or something like that.
But I'm pretty sure in this arc, Orochimaru and Itachi are killed.
As well as Deidara.
Might be wrong about that.
As well as Deidara.
Oh yeah, I didn't put that in there though. The Killing Orochimaru, Itachi, and Deidara arc.
This is the Sasuke murder spree arc.
Is that what it's called?
It should be.
Because I would totally believe that.
Like this arc is what made me really start turning on the series. I don't know about you.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, this is like as much as I didn't like some of the things in the Sasuke leaving arc. This is the one where I was like, this is just dumb. What is even? Why is he? Oh, okay. Oh, hello, interesting. Bye, interesting character.
Oh yeah, and this is when they start revealing like the weird, convoluted stuff with Itachi's real motivations, and Sasuke's motivations get all weird and nonsensical from this point going onwards.
Yeah, it's like where Sasuke develops like a bipolar disorder where he's just changing his motivations left and right, you know, based on, oh, Itachi said this, well, fuck Itachi, I hate Itachi, and I hate everything. Oh, no, Itachi was really doing this, I like Itachi, but fuck everybody else.
Yeah, it's like, Itachi was doing everything to protect the village after all? Well, now I hate the village, I think I'm going to destroy it.
What's that? Itachi killed my family? Well, I'm going to destroy Itachi. Wait, Itachi was just doing it to protect me in the village? Well, I'm going to destroy the village because logic. Actually, you know what this arc should be called? The Sasuke kills credibility arc.
Sasuke kills everyone.
I hated this arc.
Sasuke kills everyone and everything.
Yeah, he destroys everything he touches in this arc, and I hated it. I hated this arc so much.
But it also introduces his worthless team.
Oh yeah, well, again, this is another thing we probably could have talked about in the underutilized
True.
section. Because, yeah, he does have a little crew that he puts together consisting of 3 other characters named Jugo, Suigetsu, and Karin, who, I think, of all of them, with the exception, I think, a little bit of Karin, because she's just kind of she's just the healer, she's the white mage, you always gotta have a white mage. Yeah. Like, I think those are characters who have, like, interesting either powers or motivations.
I think they have both.
Yeah, Jugo's a rage monster. And I forget his backstory, but I know that was his whole thing, was that he was a rage beast.
All 3 of them were subjects of Orochimaru's experiments before Sasuke kills him at the beginning of this arc. But,
yeah, murders credibility, of course, yep.
But, the thing is that Jugo was the source of the curse marks that were used early on in the series.
Right. That's right, the ones that at the Chunin exams, Kakashi and Sasuke before his fight with Gaara are working on. trying to get rid of.
Yeah, there's this curse mark that turns some of Orochimaru's like henchmen into these monster forms, and then we learn that Jugo is the source of these monster forms because he was part of a clan that was near this cave where a hermit lived who could turn himself into a monster or something like that, some convoluted something or other. But he was an interesting character, but Suigetsu had the potential to be an even more interesting character.
With his pursuit of the, I forget what their names are, but I think it's the Seven Swords of something or other.
The Seven Swords of the Mist.
I forget.
I think it's the Seven Swords of the Mist, wielded by the Seven.
But he was looking for them.
Of the Mist.
He wanted them. That's why he wanted to fight Itachi's right-hand man, Kisame, who was the shark guy.
Who was also
the freaky fish guy.
It's something about Kisame I noticed is that he has an interesting design, but like no distinct personality.
He's a puppet for Itachi.
Yeah,
he just does whatever he's told.
And there's this interesting moment where it seems like Suigetsu and Kisame are going to fight during this arc because Sasuke is fighting Itachi, and of course Kisame is there as well because he's Itachi's partner. And so Suigetsu's there because he's with Sasuke.
Right.
And like it's like they should fight here, and they just don't.
For reasons unknown.
And in terms of other characters that get underutilized in this arc, it's not just them, because Team 8, Hinata, Shino, and Kiba come with Naruto and the rest of Team 7 to look for Sasuke and try to stop him from killing Itachi.
Yeah.
And they don't get to do anything. Like, when I saw that, I really like most of the characters, with the exception of Kiba and Team 8. Like, I really like Hinata, and I really like Shino. Yeah. So I was thinking, oh, cool, it's going to be like the last arc, where, she could show those characters got a big moment to shine. Maybe these characters are also going to get a cool big moment as well.
But they didn't.
They don't do barely anything.
No, it's just if anybody gets anything to do, it's Akamaru, because he's the GPS.
I think Hinata uses her Byakugan like once.
Yeah, that's why I was like, with Kiba, I was like, when you said I don't like Kiba, I was like, oh, wait a minute, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't like Kiba either. I like Akamaru.
Yeah. Because
he's a dog, and dogs are awesome. And I like Akamaru because he's a doggy. He's a cutie little dog.
Yeah,
yay,
and
puppies.
then he becomes a big dog in part 2, and you can ride around on him.
Yeah. But now he's not cute anymore.
He's still kind of cute. He's still a dog.
He's still a dog. Yeah, dogs are awesome.
But you want to take us into the next arc?
Not really. But I suppose I will. Now that everybody's dead,
Sasuke killed them all.
Now that Sasuke has killed all the problems, a new one arises in the form of Pain, who is attacking Konoha.
Yeah.
Because everyone will know his pain. That's an exact quote. And I remember it.
Is it really?
Yeah, he says that. The world shall know my pain.
That guy is so emo. It's in his name.
Well, yeah, well, you know what? It wouldn't have made much sense if he had said the world will feel my Nagato. Doesn't make any sense.
That sounds a little dirty, actually. But,
this arc, I barely remember it.
The beginning of it had an interesting fight where Jiraiya was fighting Pain. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
And that's when Jiraiya dies.
That is.
And that's a pretty good fight. And then it leads into this big thing that's supposed to feel really epic and decisive, where they're fighting Pain, who is the assumed leader of Akatsuki.
Yes.
And it turns out he isn't, but that's a whole other convoluted kettle of fish.
Yeah, but it again, it follows that same thing that I was talking about earlier, that group of 3, where you have your kind of emo one in Nagato, your adult one in...
whatever that guy's name was.
Whatever his name was. Fucking Naruto-looking guy.
Yeah.
Only his hair is orange. instead of yellow. And then girl.
And then girl, Conan.
Yeah, Conan, the barbarian.
Another character.
Who again? She had a cool power too with like her origami shit.
Yeah,
I was like, that's good.
another cool character.
That's interesting.
Another character with cool powers that is totally underutilized. I don't even remember who she fights, like for her last fight. Who kills her?
Oh,
I don't even remember.
Isn't it the fucking the other guy?
What other guy?
I don't know. I don't know who kills her.
Me neither. I remember she like fights somebody on a bridge after she turns good after this arc. We should probably talk about this arc though, the Pain Invasion arc.
Yeah, Pain Invasion. He invades.
He kills a bunch of people. Naruto goes up to him. He's like, "Hey, I know you're really a good guy deep down. Let's get along and have bygones be bygones. You're a good person after all. There's this prophecy, and it's probably about Naruto, but it could also be about Nagato if you think about it." And then, like, Nagato has the big, super awesome eye power that's even more awesome than the Sharingan, the Renegon. So he uses that to bullshit his way. He self-sacrifices himself, and all the deaths that happen during this arc are undone, which is total bullshit.
Yeah, and I remembered the name of the other guy in their thing, their little group his name was Yahiko.
Oh, okay.
The actual pain.
But that arc, like,
dumb.
it should be like a big important arc, and I remember kind of liking it, except for the ending when I read it. But the ending like undoes so much of it that it doesn't even like register in my memory. Like, we totally forgot it when we were writing down all the arcs in order for the podcast.
Yeah, which is yeah, that is absolutely true. When we were planning out this episode, we were like, okay, and I went over it like 3 times. We went over it together last night. We were like, okay, so we got the introduction, we went through all those arcs, and we had killing Orochimaru, and we were talking about like, oh, that was so terrible. And then we're like, all right, and then it was the Kage Summit, right? And we were like, yeah. And then later today it was like, wait a minute, we forgot about the Invasion of Pain arc. That's actually what it was called. It was called the Invasion of Pain arc.
Right.
And I think when we said who killed Conan, I don't know how we didn't know it. I think it was killed by Toby.
Of
Obito.
course. Oh,
Obito
spoilers, dude. We don't know that yet.
Sorry. If you haven't seen it yet, don't go see it.
Don't go breaking my
and then
heart.
Come back.
But
Invasion of Pain.
Pain is a bad guy, but then he's kind of a good guy at the end, and all the deaths are undone, and it's pointless.
I think the only one of them who doesn't get like you're really a good person deep down is Yahiko.
Well, he was a good person the entire time.
Was he?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No.
Like he died.
You're right, he was, and then it was it's dumb.
He died because he was like such a good guy and he was trying to do the right thing, but then he was like killed for that. But then that caused all Nagato's emo-ness, caused him to become Pain.
The world will know my pain.
And like we mentioned, Pain is presented as the leader of Akatsuki, this big villainous group, like one of the major villain groups. But it turns out that it's actually somebody else, somebody who we've been led to believe is named Toby, but that's not his real name. He turns out to be the actual leader of Akatsuki, and from this point on he starts taking Sasuke under his wing, trying to mold him into a bigger bad guy. And then it turns out later that he's not even the leader of Akatsuki. And the rabbit hole just keeps going and going, which we'll get to later, but I just wanted to bring it up now so it's in people's mind when we get to it.
That the rabbit hole goes deeper after the invasion of dumb arc.
Yes.
But speaking of dumb, Our next is probably one of the most forgettable arcs, at least in my mind, except for one major thing that happens, and that is the Kage Summit.
Oh, for me, this is not a forgettable arc at all. For all the
Oh.
wrong reasons.
For all the wrong reasons. I'm just
one
gonna
of
say
the
it because,
worst.
and then I'm just gonna say this, and then I'm gonna let you go on your rant because I know how much you hate the Kage Summit arc. For me, the thing that I remember the most is Naruto's hissy fit.
Yes.
I absolutely hate this. Okay, Gray, go.
Okay. So the Kage Summit arc has several really stupid things in it. The first one that happens is, well, it's not first chronologically, but it's foremost in my mind at the moment. Obito, I messed up again, Chris. Spoilers. Toby.
You don't have to throw up the spoiler. It's been an hour. If you haven't learned your lesson yet, then it's your own damn fault.
Toby, the leader of Akatsuki, or who we're currently led to believe is, he reveals his entire plan. He reveals his entire plan to the 5 Kages of the 5 villages. He's just like, pops up at their meeting and he's like, this is what I'm going to do. Don't try to stop me. You can surrender if you want. It's a pretty good plan. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's essentially what it's like. Hey, by the way, you're all gonna die because I'm in charge now.
Well, you're not gonna die.
Right, you guys keep doing what you're doing.
You're not gonna die. You're just gonna be put into this illusion where you get all your dreams and hopes and aspirations, but it's kind of an illusion, so it's not real. And you're gonna be my slaves while you're in there, but
I mean, it's kind of cool. So
it's kind of a good deal.
It's a pretty good deal, right? You guys get what you always want, only not really. Maybe I should have just left that part out, but shit, I've already said it. All right, just don't try to stop me because just think about the cool stuff. And just be like, man, this Toby guy is really cool. And you guys just keep doing what you're doing. You guys have a great time. Enjoy your summit.
And then the other bad thing, the other thing that makes this arc so bad is just the character regression of every member of Team 7.
Yeah.
Because, I guess I'll start with Sakura. So Sakura comes to the conclusion...
Get her out of the way.
She comes to the conclusion of what she's going to do concerning Naruto and Sasuke's battle between each other. And what she decides is that she's going to step back, do nothing, and let them sort it out themselves. So this character who already does very little comes to the conclusion that she's going to do even less.
I don't do like a good friend, you know. It's like you know, in real life, if you've got two friends who are fighting, you know, who are having a little bit of a spat, you know, you're like, maybe I should just let them beat the tar out of each other. Then they'll learn. I am such a good person.
But it doesn't stop there, because Sasuke, he has this fight with Danzo in this arc, and that's where a lot of the stupid eye power bullshit starts popping up.
Like, I remember that Danzo had eyes, like, all over himself. And I remember seeing that, like, that is the most retarded thing I've ever seen, and I'm reading Naruto.
It's true. He has eyes everywhere.
Like, you don't want to get looked at by that eye on his fucking back.
Well, he mostly had them all over his arm, but it still looks stupid.
Yeah, they were all in his arms. It was still dumb.
And, like, the Sharingan can just do anything. It can summon armor, it can cause flames, it can cast illusions, it can teleport people, it can erase events from space-time. But the bad character moment here, like the really bad character moment for Sasuke, is when he stabs Karin. So he's like gone over the edge of like morally bad character by attacking his own comrade. And
Yeah, this is like no redemption mode.
but guess what he's gonna get later?
Redeemed,
Yeah,
kind of.
and the fact that everybody knew that he was going to get redeemed made this moment where he turns on Karin all the more like just dumb.
Yeah, absolutely maddening. Oh yeah, I hated that moment for the exact reason you said, as like this character who I knew in the end, just based on the theme of the show, you know, it's not even like a spoiler from when you were reading it live as it was being released. You knew
Yeah.
at the end Sasuke was, Sasuke and Naruto were gonna fight. They were gonna fight at the Valley of the End. Naruto was going to win, and Sasuke would be redeemed. So when he does something so villainous,
Yeah.
like non-redeemable, like that's it, this character has to die kind of villainy, it's just all the more maddening.
Yeah, and then that leaves Naruto.
Who has the ultimate regression.
Yes, this is so bad, and Chris already mentioned a little bit about it.
But I left it ambiguous
You
so
did.
that you could describe it. Hissy fit is just not enough.
He did. Naruto's goal in this arc is to go to where the five Kages are and beg for them to let Sasuke live, because one of the things that they're meeting about is what to do with Sasuke. And he goes up to them, he goes up to the Raikage, and he's like, please don't do this. Please don't kill Sasuke. Please, oh please, oh please. And he's begging, and the Raikage like gives him a very stern but well-reasoned response of, no, Sasuke is like fucking evil, we're gonna kill him.
I think that's an exact quote.
It's probably an
Please
exact...
please don't kill this guy who I still view as a friend for whatever reason. Nah, kid, he evil. He gonna die.
Still regard him as a friend, even though the only interaction you've had in the last, like, 3 years has been him trying to kill you.
On more than one occasion.
Yeah.
Him beating the shit out of you and leaving you for dead. And the only reason he does so is because Kakashi's like, hey man, you don't kill him. And he's like, whatever, fuck you, Kakashi. And he leaves.
Yeah, but then what happens next is the worst part, because Naruto freaks out over this revelation that the Kages aren't going to change their mind. So he pussies out, hyperventilates, and blacks out.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I just... it's just the old, like, that was it for me. This was actually, at this point I had stopped. It was right after that chapter I stopped reading for a while.
Me too. I distinctly
I'm
remember.
talking like until like maybe a year or so ago was when I picked it back up, and it was it was a lot later. Because that moment still pisses me off. It's like, I can think of no other series. Like, I mean, maybe if I thought about it, I could probably come up with something. But at least right now, I failed to come up with a series where its main protagonist, at least this far into the series, responds to something in that way.
Yeah.
In most, and it doesn't matter if it's shonen series. It doesn't matter if it's from Japan. It doesn't matter if it's Western. No series with a protagonist this far into its series that I can remember has ever responded to something, just something as simple as like, no, I'm not changing my mind. No, you can't have your toy. And for them to throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Like, and this was at a point when we as the audience, at least when it comes to Naruto as a character, we're supposed to believe that since it's been 3 years and he's more mature and he's learned more from training with Jiraiya and having all of these, these fights that are supposed to have some effect on him. This fight with Pain and Nagato, his fight with, all these people, and he reacts in such a way that even he, as a 12-year-old at the beginning of the original series, would not react in that way.
Yeah.
It just made no fucking sense to me.
Oh, there's so much in that arc that made no sense.
And I implore you at home, if you can think of any series where a protagonist throws a hissy fit, it doesn't even have to be the same situation. Like, in any situation like that, please let me know, because I can't think of one. And I've seen a lot of stuff.
Like, you get in a series a lot where the protagonist will go through some sort of traumatic event and kind of, like, blank out.
Right.
But
to throw a hyperventilating temper tantrum?
Over, no, I'm not changing my mind. It's ridiculous.
Like, even if you wanted to look at it as like, nah, kid, we're gonna kill your best friend. You're like, wait, what? Why?
Like Naruto even. Like, I was gonna say any other shonen protagonist, but even Naruto shouldn't be acting like this. But any other character or Naruto in any other part of the series would be like, okay, now I'm more determined than ever to find Sasuke and protect him and
that is
make
what
him
the
change.
Protagonist's that is what the protagonist's response should be. It should be, well, I'm going to do my best to clear his name. I'm going to do everything I can to prove to you that he's still good, not pass out and waste valuable time. Fucking idiot.
I don't even remember what the next arc is at this point.
The next arc is training with Killer Bee.
That's right.
It happened. I got nothing to say about it. Really. I know a lot of people like Killer Bee. I don't.
I think Killer Bee is okay. He could be annoying if he was used more. Like, he's one character where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of glad that he's utilized less, because if he was used more, he'd be pretty obnoxious.
Yeah.
But in small doses, he's kind of fun. The one thing I really remember about this arc is when Kisame fights Might Guy, because it makes no sense to me. Like, all the other Akatsuki, like, pairings for fights are, like, personal in some way. There's some sort of connection there, or interest there, but Kisame and Guy, it's just kind of like this one character and this other character
fight, and that's it.
And Guy kills him. Like, this is Kisame's big defining last hurrah, and he gets killed by this, like, goofy side character. And I always got the impression that we were supposed to care about Guy a lot more than I ever did, because he's always kind of hanging out in the background but not really doing anything.
He always annoyed me. I never cared for Guy. Maybe the series wanted me to care about him a little bit more, but like I found Lee to be interesting, but I never found Guy to be interesting. And in fact, whenever he appeared, I was like, oh, this fucking guy.
And like, the way that the series tries to make you care about him is just inserting him into scenes and battles and not actually having him have any development.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if wasn't this the training with Killer Bee? This was also Dark Naruto.
Yes, but I barely remember anything about that.
I just well, it's resolved rather quickly.
Yeah, I think it was like
that's what I remember.
Chapter.
Like, they meet up at they see each other at the waterfall, and he gives him a hug and is like, "This is all you needed. Is just a little love and tenderness."
I think this is also around the time when he starts befriending the tailed fox.
Or when they start talking. I don't think they're like friendly.
But it's
this is when this is when they really start talking.
This is where
they start communicating here.
Right, and that leads to their friendship later.
Right. But yeah, the training and stuff, which leads into probably one of the most retarded things in all time.
This was pretty bad, but
the Great Shinobi War arc.
I still think the 5 Kage Summit arc was the low point of the series. but this was not much better.
I was about to say, but damn, does this one give it a run for its money? Because
Man.
this is where Kishimoto was proving to the entire world that he was bankrupt of ideas. and and he, you know, I think some part of him was like, you know what, I've got a huge cast of interesting characters, but I've killed them off. Maybe I should bring them all back and have them do even less than they did before.
Well,
And so we have the Great Shinobi War arc, where the Zetsus fight some generics, and also all your favorite characters have been brought back from the dead and are ruined.
well, I don't even know where to start with this one.
Let's start with the fucking zombies. How about that?
Okay.
That's pretty damn dumb.
Okay, the zombies. There were some good emotional moments for some of the characters, but for a lot of them, it was just replayed of what we already saw when they were alive. Like
Datara.
Yeah, like Datara doesn't get to do anything, but like in terms of emotional moments, they bring Haku and Zabuza back, and they basically
and have them go, what the fuck?
they basically just redo their final moments together during the Land of Waves arc.
Yeah.
Which is pointless.
It's Kishimoto saying, hey, for those of you who don't want to go back and read, back when I was good.
And there's like some good emotional moments with people
Yeah.
meeting their zombie loved ones, but
Which is why this isn't as bad as 5 Kage-sama.
yeah, there's a couple of decent fights, but overall it's pretty stupid. It also has what I consider to be the dumbest fight, and that's the fight against the Silver and Gold brothers. I don't know if you remember this at all.
Barely.
This was the one where they had the sacred treasures, where it was like the gourd and the rope or whatever.
Right.
And they had the power using these treasures to seal people's souls away based on the stupidest rules imaginable. Because one of the treasures, it was if you call out somebody's name and they respond
to it, then they get you get their soul.
They-
That was fucking dumb.
And the other one is even worse because it's if you say your favorite word, you get your soul taken. And maybe this would be better if it was between characters we care about, but it's between characters who were barely introduced in this arc, who had never appeared before. It was like that was one of the things that was most maddening about this whole arc was we're so close to the end. Why are you wasting so much time on these characters that we don't care about when there's all of these characters we do care about not doing anything?
What would your favorite word be that would have your soul stolen?
Probably
Oh. So yeah, you'd be dead pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I would if that was my favorite word, but I don't even know what my favorite word would be. I would make up a fake word that I would never say in any.
Well, it's the word you use most, so you can't be like, oh yeah, this is my favorite word, and have it be something that you don't use a lot.
Yeah, I was like, so I guess
Like
my word would probably. Well, that's so dumb. It would probably be it or is or the.
yeah. Like I guess in Japanese.
Fucking Kishimoto, what an idiot.
And I guess in Japanese it would be different because the way they use words is different.
It would be Chan.
That's so racist.
Or San.
It would probably be San.
Yeah, it'd probably be San. Or Kun. Naruto, it's Kun. Everything is Kun.
And
Maybe Senpai.
I don't remember exactly, but I believe that they beat these guys partially by saying a new word. Like, he just says a word over and over again until it becomes his new favorite. It's like, why not just not say anything?
Yeah. Also, oh my god, how am I going to defeat this guy who, if I talk, I die? Oh.
There might have been...
Maybe I should just invent my own language. No, you idiot, just stop talking!
Maybe there was something more to it, but I have the weird feeling that there
wasn't. Who cares?
wasn't.
I think that's funnier. But... the Great Shinobi War arc.
Oh, there's more, because this also had the, Itachi and Sasuke team up to fight...
Reunion, yeah.
Team up to fight freaking Kabuto.
Where everyone has they're back together, and they're fighting side by side.
When Kabuto had become wannabe Orochimaru.
With his pretty cool-ass hood, though.
Yeah, too bad he looks stupid
his cool
in it.
snake hoodie.
Too bad he looks stupid in it.
With his nerd glasses.
He's got, like, round nerd glasses. It's so...
And his King Cobra hoodie. Kabuto, what are you? I'm the basilisk from Harry Potter. You look like a douche.
I'm the basilisk with Harry Potter if it had a child with Harry Potter himself.
Oh no.
It's my slash fiction.
It's my slash fiction. Oh, dear God. So yeah, they fight.
Oh, that fight has more eye bullshit.
Because it's Naruto, and that's what it is. Just eyes and...
Like, they beat Kabuto by getting him stuck in a time loop where, like, he thinks he's beating the... He thinks... It's an illusion where he thinks he beats them. Kabuto thinks that he's beaten Itachi and Sasuke, and then it, like, resets to earlier in the fight, and so he tries to fight them again, and he beats them again, and then it resets.
Yeah.
And it's like this illusion time loop that he's stuck in, and that's how they beat him.
Yep.
And it's bullshit because
it is bullshit.
It relies on stupid eye powers that have made up rules.
Yeah. And whenever you want to defeat somebody, just make up a new power and say it's part of either the Sharingan or the Rinnegan. In fact, the only one that they don't ever add anything to is the Byakugan.
Yeah, the Byakugan, like, has really simple rules. You can see through stuff. You can see in almost 360 degrees. That's it.
Yeah.
I think you can also analyze, like, chakra and...
they can,
jutsu.
and it kind of slows things down for them.
But it's all based around this very specific set of rules, whereas the Sharingan can just do whatever the plot requires at that moment.
And same thing with the Rinnegan.
Or whatever Kishimoto thinks will be cool at that moment.
It's like, oh, man... Well, I can't invent another character to do it, so I guess I'll just have it be a Sharingan or Rinnegan power.
Like
and just say, oh, this was written in ancient text. Oh, fuck you.
Oh, that's so stupid. I don't know when we're gonna talk about the Sasuke, or the Uchiha.
Oh, the Uchiha slabs. Yeah, fuck them.
The secret tablet underneath the Uchiha village ruins that contain the entire plot of the series.
Who knew?
But
was there anything else after that in the Shinobi War arc, or did
I kind of want to talk about the eye powers a little bit more?
Okay.
Because
they're dumb.
if they had specific rules like the Byakugan, the Rinnegan, and the Sharingan would be fine. If the Sharingan,
but they don't.
If the Sharingan was all based around casting illusions or mimicking other ninjas' jutsus, it would make sense. It would be fine. But there's all this other stuff it can do as well.
Yeah, they make up.
That literally violate time and space. And then the Rinnegan... The Rinnegan would be fine if it all revolved around controlling the tailed beasts. But there's a bunch of other bullshit it can do as well.
Also breaking time and space.
But after that, there's Madara is revived. Oh, and Obito was revealed at the very end of this as well. Yes,
that's right. At the start, was that at the start of the Shinobi War arc, or was that at the start of the next arc, which is Madara?
It was at the end of the Shinobi World War arc, because it's right before Madara gets revived, I believe.
That's correct. It is revealed that Toby was in fact Obito all along.
Who would have
now
known?
Our viewers aren't surprised because you already spoiled that for them, Gray.
You spoiled it before I did.
Well, I spoiled the whole series. I said that they were gonna fight, and
Yeah, that's true. But the there's a moment. There's a weird moment where they're like, "Oh, Toby isn't really Toby. He's Madara Uchiha. Dun dun dun. Oh, he's not really Madara Uchiha. He's nobody."
he's Nobito Uchiha.
And then they finally reveal that it's really Obito, and everybody's like, "Okay, we kind of guessed that, even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense."
But who was that guy? He was part of another group of 3 with an idiot, an emo, and a girl.
Yep.
Consisting of
Kakashi.
Kakashi, who's your resident emo, your local dolt, Obito, and girl, Rin.
Girl. Oh, she was like the most girl of the girl characters. Like, that's her only defining trait.
She was the most girl. Oh my god, it's really bad because you know what? That absolutely describes her.
That's the only thing that describes her.
She was well, she died.
Yes, 1 girl, 2 dead.
That's a pretty interesting trait.
Being dead.
But yeah, I couldn't tell you what her power was or if she even
didn't
had
have
one.
any powers.
She was just girl.
She was just the girl.
She was the girl because every group's gotta have
She
one.
didn't even really have a personality. She was just supportive.
She died. That's
That's not a personality. Everybody dies.
she died young.
That's not a personality either.
Are you sure? Because Kishimoto seems to think so.
Did his
Oh,
concept for characters just like decrease over time? Because
I
like
guess.
it's like, heck yeah, you got like in the beginning you got Haku and Zabuza, yeah, you got Shikamaru, Hinata, all these other interesting characters, or Orochimaru, and then from there on it's just kind of like Kisame, yay,
Yeah.
Tsunade, yay,
Nagato. Yahiko.
Conan,
Suigetsu.
Green.
This guy.
The guys with the gourds that suck up people's souls when you say your name.
My name is Naruto. Oh no! Oh man. What were we even?
We were,
Oh yeah, Obito.
yes, and
He loses half his face.
does he?
Yeah, when he is thought to be dead, wink wink, nudge nudge.
He lost his eye and gave it to Kakashi.
Yeah, he loses his eye because I think it's something dumb like a rock falls on his
Yeah,
face.
a rock fell on him.
A rock fell on only half of his face. And it didn't kill him, even though half of his face was caved in.
That's because Madara found him and revived him. Oh yeah.
No, but at the time, that should have killed him fucking instantly. I don't care how ninja you are.
Madara should have been dead too, but he was alive through some bullshit.
But he was old as dirt.
Literally almost.
You can't die from old as dirtness. You have to be killed with like a shuriken at the very least. It's Naruto rules.
But
No one dies of old age.
But speaking of Madara, like, before I said the thing about the rabbit hole of Akatsuki leaders,
Yeah.
Madara, it turns out, is the real leader of Akatsuki.
Not fake Madara, which was Obito.
Yeah. Like, Madara has been pulling all the strings, who in turn has been pulling all the strings of Obito, who in turn has been pulling all the strings of Nagato, who in turn has been pulling all the strings of all the other
Of
Akatsuki
Yahiko.
members.
Of Yahiko, No, it goes further than that, because he was pulling the strings of Yahiko, who he was using as a
That's true.
as a facade.
As a facade, who in turn was leading the
was
other
pulling
members.
the strings of Akatsuki.
Who in turn,
We're just being dicks.
who in turn, there was also Itachi in there, who was pulling the
Yeah.
strings of pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a
Well,
leader.
no, he was just pulling their legs. Ha ha. Terrible, I apologize. But yeah, so Madara is revealed, and that leads us to
Final
the arc. well,
almost final arc.
almost second to last.
Pretty much climactic final.
Yeah, the Madara arc, the final battle with Madara, which I compared this, and again, like I said in the very beginning, both of us said this. Both Gray and I read a lot of manga. We've both watched a lot of anime, and we both consume a lot of media of all forms.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who have read Naruto, you've also probably read Bleach. And the fight with Madara, to me, and maybe you'll disagree, maybe you won't, it reached, like, from Bleach, the Aizen levels of annoying.
Oh, you mean just how long it went on?
Where it lasted forever.
It lasted forever. It lasted almost 2 years just fighting, like, Obito and in the beginning.
Yeah, fighting Obito and fighting Madara.
It lasted...
took 2 years. I think it took, like, actually legitimately not inside of the actual universe's timeline, but in real time releases of chapters, it took 2 years to fight this fucking guy.
Yeah.
So it was about as long as I don't know the exact amounts, but it was obscenely long, like the fight with Aizen in Bleach.
Mm-hmm.
It consisted of characters constantly, like, one character pulls something out of their ass to beat the bad guy. The bad guy pulls something out of his ass to stop it. So the good guys must pull something new out of their ass to defeat the thing that the bad guy pulled out of their ass, and then come up with another thing to stop them in the first place.
Right, and the thing that happens, like, one of the big, like, markers for the beginning of this arc is Neji dying. And I remember 1 year into this arc, looking back and realizing it's been a whole year since Neji died, and nothing has really happened.
No. Nope.
And
Nothing happens.
And it continues to go on.
It takes 2 years for something to happen.
Yeah, basically. And then they freaking kind of stop him, not really. And then Obito and Madara double cross each other. There's some backstabbing going on, which leads to eventually Obito changing sides and Madara becoming, like, the big main villain.
Yep. Madara's the main bad guy. Obito has his quote-unquote redeeming moment where he's like, you know what, Kakashi, you're not a bad guy.
Oh, I just forgot something that happens
What's
before
that?
this, though. What Sasuke is doing before he shows up to help.
Who gives a fuck?
But it's so stupid, so I want to bring it up.
Yeah, okay.
He goes to the secret underground
Oh,
chamber.
yeah, the slabs. We said we wanted to talk about the slabs, too.
the slabs that have every detail of every plot-relevant legend and plot detail, history detail, and they go there. Orochimaru revives himself through some bullshit, so he's back. Yay.
Yeah.
Well,
he was kind of interesting, so legit. Yay.
He's less interesting when he comes back, though, because he's like, I'm kind of done being evil. I'll just do whatever Sasuke wants me to do.
Yay. I mean, wait, no, that's dumb. Fuck you.
So they go to Konoha and they do all this stuff to bring back all the former Hokage, and then Sasuke, like, grills them for the history of the village to decide what he's going to do next. And he's like, I'm going to decide what to do next based on what you guys tell me. And so we get a big, long history lesson flashback. And then Sasuke, at least at this point, we think he's decided to, be a good guy.
Yeah. Spare the village.
He's at least decided to spare the village.
Yeah.
And so he says sorry to Karin in the most half-assed way possible.
Legitimately, he says, ellipses, sorry.
While not turning towards, like, the reader.
Yeah, not even looking.
And it's not even, like, the whole panel, it's just part of the panel. It's so bad.
Yeah, ellipses, sorry.
Part of me thinks that it was supposed to be kind of foreshadowing that he wasn't completely good yet. But on the other hand...
But the reaction of Karin is what makes it...
what makes it awful, because she's just like, oh, I love Sasuke, I forgive him completely.
The power of lady boners is strong.
But
And she's got a pretty big heart on for him.
oh, definitely. That character was just annoying.
Yeah, because much like a lot of other female characters, it's about how much they all want to pork Sasuke.
Yeah, because you
their
had Sakura and Ino in the beginning.
Sakura and Ino, their entire character motivations and their conflict when they fight each other in the fucking tuning exams is about how much they want to, slobber his cock.
Also, Sakura having
disgusting.
Also, Sakura having a big forehead, despite having the same size forehead as any other given character.
That's right. That was another reason why they were fighting. Was because of silly insults.
Yeah, because
that make no sense.
Well, I don't even want to talk about it. It's just dumb.
Yeah. And there's so many things you can make fun of. You could say, Ino, well, you know what? I have a big forehead, but your pants are made of athletic tape. And that's dumb. That can't be comfortable, so fuck you.
Why are you a blonde Asian person? Oh, I guess Naruto has that going on, too.
Yeah, Naruto's got that, too. Well, some of them have blue and purple and pink hair, so...
Yeah, Sakura has pink.
Being blonde isn't really that weird.
Sakura has pink hair, she can't complain.
Yeah, she can't talk about... At least the hair color's normal. But anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about fighting Madara, but it's such
Madara, after they said, please spare the village, Karin's like, well, you're kind of hot, so I guess it's cool.
So, Sasuke joins the battle, and they fight Madara, and their
new challenger has appeared.
Pretty much. And then they do what you were saying, like they're trying to ass pull each other. That's what happens.
I like that term.
Yeah, I got it from like TV tropes.
Aww.
Not ass pulling, but just ass pulling.
Ass pulling. I like ass pulling. It's our term.
Yeah, it's trademarked. Don't steal.
Yeah, do not steal or else.
Original trademark. Do not steal.
Yeah. This is why you've watched this long, everybody, by the way. So yeah, they fight Madara.
Stuff happens. There's a lot of bullshit. Madara has a lot of bullshit powers. The Sage of Six Paths shows up.
To say hey.
To get Deus Ex Machina powers to Naruto and Sasuke.
Yep. Like I said, out ass pull.
Yep.
To the point where somebody else literally has to out ass pull for them.
A literal Deus Ex Machina, because he is literally the god of the ninja world.
Yeah. And he's just like, well, I don't like that fucking Madara guy, so here you go. And they're like, oh, cool. And they beat him.
And then we get our first mention of Kaguya.
Yep.
Which is important because just consider how little time there is between Kaguya first being mentioned and what happens next, which is Naruto and Sasuke fight Madara, and they're pretty overmatched, even as they kind of seem to get more of a leg up, and Obito is helping them now. And it seems like
literally,
it seems like things are going to start turning around when Madara just starts like pretty much curb stomping them, and he activates the Moon Eye plan, which was the big villain plan that Toby revealed way back in the terrible Kage Summit
arc.
Yeah, and so he activates it, and suddenly Kaguya takes over Madara. And we're all the momentum of the Madara fight, all the dislike for Madara, all of the tension of fighting him goes completely out the window, and we have to start caring about this new villain who we know nothing about, basically, who was just barely introduced.
Who's just fucking appeared.
Yeah, and we have to start over, like, from scratch to care about this conflict again and this character. It's so bad.
And then they fight her for what feels like who cares.
It wasn't that long of a fight, but it was...
No, it was really short, and it was really dumb.
It was really bad, because she's, like, teleporting them between, like, these, like, Super Mario Bros. Themed dimensions.
Yeah, that's all she does, is she's there... You know what? She's there to help out the people who make the next video game. It's like, here, you guys can change it up a little bit. I'm just teleporting them, and then they punch her in the head, and that's it.
They all three members of Team 7 punch her in the head at the same time. Obito also sacrifices himself, but even like the Zetsu, who's like helping out Kaguya at this point. Oh, we forgot to mention. Turns out that Madara wasn't the real one pulling the strings of Akatsuki. It was Kaguya.
Yeah.
So the rabbit hole goes even deeper.
The rabbit hole has finally reached its conclusion. This character, who has been mentioned once.
Like months before she appears.
Months before she, like, just a couple months before she appears, which, by the way, in manga chapter releases is not that long.
It's like 10 chapters.
10 chapters, she's announced, and then she appears, and she's the big bad.
Yeah, it's so bad. And, like,
terrible.
What was I gonna say about it?
And then they all punch her, and Naruto does a reverse harem jutsu on her.
That's right, he does!
He does do that, yeah.
God. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
and it works.
It fucking worked.
And like
nosebleed, no jutsu.
Kaguya has like no personality whatsoever.
Nope.
Oh, I was saying about the Zetsu and Obito's sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
Obito's sacrifice is pointless, and the Zetsu even confirms it. He's like, you know, they could have just gotten out of the way on their own. You didn't need to do that.
But he was just like, no, fuck it, I need to sacrifice myself so that the fans know that I'm redeeming myself.
Pretty much. But anyways, fast forward again.
Yeah, fast forward. Reverse harem no jutsu. Where for those of you, you all know, fuck it, Naruto can turn into sexy ladies. A lot of them.
Because of his shadow clones. But in this...
Because of his shadow clones.
Reverse, he turns into a bunch of sexy boys.
Yeah. And usually it gives characters a nosebleed.
Didn't give Kaguya a nosebleed.
How do you know that
works? How do you know it works if she didn't get a nosebleed, though?
Oh. Well, she still fell for it.
That's true. It distracted her
nose
for a
didn't.
second.
Her nose didn't bleed, but she was still like, "Oh my!" I'm assuming that's how she talks because the story itself doesn't give me any indication.
She said she. I don't even remember if she has any lines. If she does, she doesn't have very many at all.
I think she grunts.
The Zetsu.
She just.
The Zetsu.
Zetsu does the talking,
and it's so cute. I think it's supposed to be like creepy looking, but it's so cute because it's like this little round-eyed face with a big goofy grin hiding out in her sleeve, like saying stuff about his mommy.
It was like the Parasite from fucking Parasite the Maxim, only goofy looking and funny.
Yeah, it was like, am I supposed to be intimidated by this? I think it's kind of cute.
It's like, yeah, is this intimidating? Because it's fucking adorable. But yeah.
And then she turns into a giant rabbit monster for some reason.
Because she just has that ability, man.
It has something to do with the tailed beasts in Naruto and something. And Kakashi, Obito comes back from the afterlife using their shared universe, alternate dimension, using the Sharingan bullshit again. And he gives the Sharingan back to Kakashi momentarily. And
my eye is bullshit, no jutsu.
So Kakashi has the Sharingan, so he's able to help out a little bit. They all punch her, and they seal her away. And on the topic of like sealing her away, I think that Kaguya was introduced because Kishimoto realized that by making Madara so powerful, he had written himself into a corner. So he needed a villain that was technically stronger than Madara, but was very specifically weak to the new Deus Ex Machina powers that Naruto and Sasuke get.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that's the whole reason why Kaguya even exists.
That sounds sadly correct. Just to kind of move things along here, because we've been talking for, an hour and 40 minutes about Naruto, and congratulations to the people who have basically stuck with us recapping the entirety of a 15-year series. Because we're at the final piece now, the final arc. All three of Team 7, they punch Kaguya in the head. Hooray, hooray. But it leads into our final arc, the ending arc, that ends at chapter 699, and we're gonna talk about chapter 700 separately. But let's talk about the thing we all knew that was going to happen because fucking it had to.
Yeah.
Basically everything that I said earlier.
Everything.
Where it turns out Sasuke heel turns again. He's bad. He fights Naruto at the Valley of the End. Oh, like I said. Naruto wins.
It's a draw, basically.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of each other.
They beat the shit out of each other to the point where they have, like, stumps for arms.
Yeah, they have stump arms. They beat each other to a fucking bloody pulp. And then there you go.
I'm gonna say a couple of things I actually like about this fight.
Okay. Yeah, there are a couple of things.
The first thing I actually like about it is that I'm glad that they didn't just have Sasuke turn face and have that be the end of it, you know? Like earlier, when he seemed to have turned face.
Yeah, where they just after like if it had just gone to the epilogue after the Kaguya fight kind of thing.
Yeah, like the most interesting and useful thing Sai does is that earlier when they're fighting Madara and Sasuke shows back up, Sai goes like, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't trust Sasuke so readily," and then he turns out to be right later.
But given that this is Naruto, they will not even consider it. But yeah,
the other thing I like about this fight is that it's a pretty good fight.
Yeah, like, it's a pretty good fight. There are some good moments. It's kind of, you know, reminiscent of their fight in the Sasuke leaving arc.
Right, and
not just in terms of location. Like, I think there's a lot of good things going on kind of emotionally between the characters, even though there's some dumb logic, but Sasuke kind of calls Naruto out on his dumbness, like you fucking idiot, why?
There's a little bit of that. It gets I don't like how broken up this fight is by like flashbacks from stuff we already seen, like literally copy pasted from earlier in the manga. But the actual fight itself is pretty good. I like the fact that they're running out of chakra.
Yes, I actually like that a lot, because that's one thing. You know, even though they say that a lot in the, like, I feel like they say that a lot in the series, like, oh no, I'm running out of chakra. Like, it never really matters.
Yeah, but this time it really does matter. And they like really like beat each other to exhaustion, and you can just see it with like every punch thrown, every dodge, every movement. They're just getting more and more exhausted. And I actually really like that aspect of the fight. And there's another, I guess I have to end it on another down note.
Well, it's Naruto, so it's cool.
It's not super terrible, but there's a moment with the nine-tailed fox where he gives all of his remaining chakra to Naruto for one last-ditch effort attack. Yeah. And it seems like it should be a big defining moment for the nine-tailed fox. And it's just kind of underwhelming.
Yeah. I still think it. Yeah, I kind of, I get what you're saying, but I still think it was a good moment for Kyubey. Because thinking back, how many does he really have?
Wait a second, Kyubey is the Madoka Magic character,
isn't it? Well, Kyubey Naruto.
Oh,
that's what it's called, right? Ninetales is Kyubey.
That's the Japanese for Ninetales. That's correct.
What's his? Does he have like an actual name,
Kurama,
or is he just
his real name? I believe.
What is it?
Kurama.
That's right. It is Kurama. I'm sorry. Like, I was so used to, I read it, but like the games just call it Kyubey Naruto.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So I was just like, so I've just always just called him Kyubey.
Anyway, so what are you gonna say about it?
I don't even remember. Kurama, just go that now, so I have that ingrained in my mind. He does. I can't. At least I can't think of very many moments that he actually has outside of, you know, kind of being a douche. He's like, listen, you fuck. If I wasn't behind this door, I would eat you.
It's basically to give him chakra early on, and then later on he gets a lot more to do.
Yeah, like early on he's just like, whatever. I don't want to die, so I guess I'll help you. But in this, it's just like, no, it's like a willingness, like, I'm going to help you, so not out of spite or just, you know, I live here, so I got no choice. He does it because he knows it's, like, right kind of thing.
Yeah, I like...
Maybe I'm not saying it right, but that's
even
like I like that he has that moment when he had so very few.
even the
But I agree in that it's a little underwhelming.
yeah, it's just the way it's executed because it's like one page, and it's the dialogue is flat, and there's not a big standout like oh shit moment.
Right.
And like the only consequence of it is that he's going to like go to sleep for a few hours.
Yeah.
And I do like you were saying, the fact that Naruto and the Nine-Tailed Fox Kurama have this developing relationship, at least in the later parts of the series, is actually pretty well handled overall.
Agreed.
Because up to that point, the Tailed Fox is pretty much presented as a being of pure like hatred, but
he's a being of pure hatred, and his use in fights is that he is a fucking chakra tank.
Yeah, and then like Naruto like legitimately befriends him, and it's actually a pretty good arc for both of them.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agree. But essentially what it leads to is the two go for like their final attacks, and it basically ends in a draw. They're both like exhausted to the point of not being able to continue.
And stump arms.
But it leads us to well,
we should probably talk about the falling action of the fight.
The falling action, I was just about to say. So the result of all of this, at least in terms of who is the Hokage, it is Kakashi. It is Kakashi. So that's kind of interesting at first.
Yeah, but we'll be getting into that in a second. And then Sasuke gets a slap on the wrists, basically, despite everything.
Not even that. He just like...
he's not even punished at all.
He's not punished because like it's not even like an exile. He
self-imposed.
Leaves. It's a self-imposed like I'm going to go on a soul search.
And it's not like he's disallowed from coming back. He can basically come back whenever he wants.
Yeah. So yeah, basically what happens is Kakashi should fucking lock him away, and he tells Sasuke that he says like usually for what I guess this has happened enough times when Kakashi can say usually for people who do what you do we lock them away because this happens a lot. But because you kind of helped out with Madara and Kaguya, we're just gonna let that slide. So don't do it again. And Sasuke's like, I need to see the world shining, shimmering, splendid, and all that shit. And so he goes soul searching, and Sakura is kind of like pouting and whatnot, like, meh, and she's like, don't worry, baby, I'll be back for you. And then there you go.
I need to rant on this for a little bit.
Please.
The first thing is Sasuke gets like no punishment at all. Now that I think about it, and
no, his punishment is a stump arm.
Pretty much, but he gets a new arm anyways.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Sakura should not be with him at all.
No.
Because before Naruto and Sasuke go off to have their last fight, Sasuke gets her to butt out of it by projecting an illusion at her, in which he stabs her.
Yeah.
After ignoring Sakura's feelings, being outright malicious towards her.
The entire series.
15
years!
Never acknowledging her feelings once. Why are they together in the end?
Because shipping?
But... And then, like... This is why Sasuke is... This is the tipping point that when I was thinking about who the worst character is, why I ended up settling on Sasuke, is basically because of the fact that he just has no consequences to all the things he did.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna compare this moment to another moment in another manga series.
Okay.
In Fairy Tail, there's this arc where a villain who had done all these terrible things but had a relationship with Urza. At the end of that, he was the main villain, and presumably he was killed.
Mm-hmm.
But he ends up coming back later in a later arc, and he has like amnesia, and he kind of helps them defeat that arc's bad guy.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, the like government of the setting, the kingdom where the story takes place, they show up and they're like, okay, this guy is a criminal, we need to lock him up. And while like Natsu and the other main characters are like, no, we don't want that to happen. He helped us, he's our friend now. We don't want him to be locked up.
Right.
The villain guy, whose name is Jalal, or Jaral, I don't remember which one's official. But he ends up being like, no, I do need to be punished for all the terrible things I've done. So please, like, take me away and lock me up.
Yeah.
And that feels like what should have happened with Sasuke.
Yeah.
Instead of nothing.
Yeah, instead of a self-imposed, well, I guess I'll just wander for a little bit. And
a self-imposed kind of not really exile.
Yeah, because it's not an exile. An exile would imply that he can't return. It's a soul search. He even says, "Is like I just need to find some things out."
It's a walkabout.
It's like I'm going on sabbatical, so I'm gonna take a weekend away.
Like I'm trying to remember specific examples because I know there's other series that end with characters doing this kind of thing where like, okay,
would they go on a soul search?
Yeah, I need to go around and look and see how the world has changed and like. So
yeah, sure.
But it's usually either not villains or villains who haven't done or attempted to do such like irredeemable things.
Yeah. Not even. Yeah, I was about to say not even like attempted. Like Sasuke's actually done irredeemable things, and at the end, for there to be absolutely no consequence is frustrating as all fuck.
Yeah.
But I think we've gone on long enough about the actual arcs of Naruto. Okay. I mean, again, to those of you who have stuck around, I mean, we talked 2 hours recapping a 15-year series, which isn't too bad when you think about it. But that brings us to the final thing here, the epilogue.
It's the final countdown.
Do. This show fucking sucks.
This might be the worst
manga,
of it.
Whatever.
Actually.
Huh?
I said this might be the worst of it, but the 5 Kage arc is still.
Yeah.
It's still reigns supreme.
Well, yeah. At least, as bad as this epilogue is, it's only one chapter.
Yay.
Whereas the 5 Kage Summit was an entire arc. So.
A full chapter in color.
Yeah. So here we are. Our epilogue, which I'll say this because Gray, you and I were talking about it before. Mm-hmm. Before the scans were posted, before they announced, like right when they announced that there was only going to be about 5 or 6 chapters left, and then the series was going to end. You and I had kind of been talking and we had said more in jest that it was going to be a Harry Potter ending. Yeah. Where
like that Harry Potter epilogue at the end of the last book.
Harry Potter epilogue where, everybody's grown up and it's a bunch of fan fiction where characters are just together because they have to be, and they all have kids who are exactly like them.
And named after their dead friends.
And I had said in jest that Naruto would have a son who would be just like him, the exact same character, but he would have a dumb name. And I had said jokingly that that they were going to name him something. This is actually when I thought the ending of Naruto was going to be that Sasuke would sacrifice himself using the bullshit Sharingan power where he revives everybody.
Yeah.
Which, that is a redeemable moment.
Yeah, that would have been
for someone like Sasuke. That would have been a lot better.
Even though it would have undone all the deaths of the arc, it would have been Or at least some of the deaths of
At
the
least one person would be dead.
At least it would be a better redemptive moment for Sasuke, and it would have been better closure.
Yeah, agreed. I think it would have been better closure, but... And I thought Sasuke would do something like that. Well, I didn't think that was going to happen. I had hoped that was going to happen. And that Naruto would name his kid something stupid. That he would name him after a friend who died, and then after a villain who had a redeeming quality. So it would be like Neji Sasuke or something like that. Yeah. But instead, what we got was slightly more retarded. We got the same kind of ending that I had predicted. A Harry Potter fanfiction epilogue where everybody's older. Kakashi, as I had said, Kakashi was the Hokage in chapter 699, only for in chapter 700, which takes place, who gives a fuck how many years later? I think it's like 10 or 12 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And Kakashi is stepping down as Hokage.
So we don't get to see anything of Kakashi's tenure.
Nope, but he was Hokage for 12 years, apparently, but in terms of the manga, he was Hokage for like 6 pages.
Long enough to make the stupidest decision in the entire series.
To step down?
No, to pardon Sasuke.
Oh, yeah, long enough to make the dumb decision to pardon Sasuke, and he's stepping down, which means that Naruto is going to be taking his place, because of course... and then it just goes through like kind of a montage of where all your quote unquote favorite characters are and who've they been sexing up and what do their freakish children look like.
Oh god, we need to talk about some of the weird pairings here.
Let's so we're gonna start with that, and again, we've been going on for 2 hours, so we're not gonna try and keep this anything, but we're gonna try and keep it as a little on the shorter side.
Okay.
So that we can kind of wrap up Naruto, because like I said, we've been talking for 2 hours, so let's talk about some of the pairings. The first one, obviously Naruto is your main character. I was okay with this one.
That was probably the best one.
This was the best one. He's paired up with Hinata.
Actually, the Shikamaru Tamari one is the best one.
That's the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I think fans are the most happy about Naruto and Hinata because, Kishimoto seemed to ignore it.
Until the very end.
Until the very end when he was just like, fuck it, give them what they want.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these two are also main characters, even though their relationship we talked about. Sakura ends up with Sasuke.
Yep.
And they have a daughter named Salad.
They have a daughter whose name was translated in a lot of the scanlations as Salad. Even though the official translation has it as Sarada.
Fuck it. Her name is Salad. Her name is Salad. Sasuke's kind of chilling in the woods. And Sakura's a housewife.
Sakura's a housewife.
So, Sakura's main ambition was to do nothing.
Pretty much.
And she got her fucking wish.
And she has the Tsunade dot on her forehead.
Yes, she does.
But,
why show her using her actual, healing abilities or, anything like that? No, let's have her introduction as older Sakura fucking looking like Levi from Attack on Titan. Wearing the cleaning getup. But yeah, they have a daughter named Sarada. I didn't mention it, but Naruto and Hinata have 2 children. They have a girl who looks like Hinata, but whose name, who cares? I don't know it.
Himawa or something like that?
Yeah, that's right, because she's named after a flower.
Or Himawani, something like that.
Himawari. She's named after a flower, I remember that. And Naruto also has a son, who is the worst thing ever.
His name is Bolt.
His name is Bolt, because in Japan it's like Boruto.
Yeah. I've also heard speculation that it's based kind of on Neji's name, because Neji's name means screw, and a bolt is kind of like a screw. It's kind of a stretch, but it kind of ties back into the Harry Potter Neji Sasuke Uchiha.
Yeah. I think they just wanted Boruto, and that's Naruto. I think that's what that is, but whatever. The problem is that Bolt is awful.
he's an awful character because he's like Naruto.
He's like Naruto, only he doesn't have the same reasonings that Naruto did. You can say what you want about 12-year-old Naruto in the original series, about how obnoxious and bratty and shitty he was, because he was a kid, but at least he had a reason to be. Like, he didn't, his parents were dead, everybody in the village shunned him because of the tailed fox, and he had no idea why. He just knew that he was hated by everybody in his village, and that's why he
wanted attention.
Yeah.
But
Bolt, on the other hand, has friends.
He has a sister and a mother.
He has a sister, he has a mother, and he has a father. And it seems like he's maybe not well liked, but liked enough to have friends in the village. Nobody outright hates him.
I would hate him.
At least no. It's Konoha. There's something in the water. The citizens are not the brightest.
That's true.
You and I would hate him,
but his motivation...
The people of Konoha seem to think he's kind of okay, but he still acts like a little piece of trash.
And what's his motivation?
Like his dad did.
What's his motivation, Chris?
Because Daddy works too much.
His daddy's too busy, so he acts
Daddy's
out.
busy all the time. Which makes me wonder, because it's said, like, this is an exact quote, a character says, "Oh, Bolt's at it again." So he's painting the faces of the Hokages.
Mm-hmm.
Their weird Mount Rushmore of Hokages that they have.
That has way too many faces on it now.
That has far too many faces, and more just keep appearing. How big is this fucking mountain?
It gets bigger when they need it to.
It gets bigger because they have other faces they need to add. They're just like, "Oh, Bolt's at it again." So that would imply that he's painted the faces before. Naruto is becoming Hokage that day. What the fuck was he doing before? Because he says, like, "Oh, Dad's never around." What the fuck was Naruto doing while Kakashi was Hokage?
Yeah.
To where he was so busy being Hokage, because that's no.
Why was he acting out before? Yeah, I'd never thought about that.
Yeah, it's like, why was Bolt acting out before? I was like, yeah, maybe he was going on missions, because it would be assumed, at this point, that Naruto is like one of the highest ranks of ninja outside of Hokage, so yeah, he's probably going on missions, but so wouldn't his mom.
Yeah. So
wouldn't everybody else.
I did want to... We got a little off track, but I did want to point out at least one really strange pairing to me.
Oh, yeah.
The, Choji.
Choji and some lady.
Choji ended up... Like, at least some of the other characters, even if the pairings don't make sense, like Ino ended up with Sai. At least...
Everybody had to end up with someone.
At least there are characters who knew each other and have interacted before.
Yeah.
Choji...
And she was somebody who she slobbered over, so I guess it's all cool.
Choji ends up with a random cloud ninja who he had seen once and who had never interacted. Like she was part of the Kage Summit arc and then never did anything else. But she never interacted with Choji during that time.
Nope, but they're together. They fell in love.
It's ridiculous.
Or what about Kiba, who meets the cat lady who owned a shop?
He meets the cat lady who owned a shop, who appeared in literally one chapter as like
they're together.
Very incidental character. It's like it was like, oh, he's got dogs and she's got cats.
So it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And they don't have any kids. They just have a bunch of dogs and cats.
They have Akamaru. But yeah, I must say though, I think it was really progressive of Kishimoto to have Ino hook up with that chick named Sai.
And have an equally androgynous child. I really think that the Ino Shikacho are supposed to be all female this new generation in the epilogue.
I don't know though. Shikadai is too androgynous.
Like Shikamaru's kid is too androgynous, and Ino's kid is too androgynous to really tell.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
At least you can tell that Choji's kid is a girl.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Named Chocho.
They
all have stupid names.
They're all it's all dumb. It's all fucking dumb. But back to Bolt. Mm-hmm. He's painting the faces again, and Naruto's like, "Hey, you fuck, stop it."
Yeah.
And like, you know, some other characters are shown like, "Oh, look, it's Konohamaru, and he's older now, and he's a sensei, and Iruka is old."
Yep. Ruka looks really old for some reason.
Yeah, well, they made him like a grandpa. He's like, "I'm so old and wise now, and I still have a nose scar." And Konohamaru still has a scarf, and he's doesn't do anything interesting now because he's old and bland.
Yeah, he looks bland. He acts bland.
He looks bland. He's just a regular old sensei guy now.
He's the Aruka of the new generation.
Yeah, he's the new Iruka, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and that pretty much leads into our last subject for the show.
Yeah, the epilogue.
The future of the show.
The future, yeah, the epilogue leading into the future. This was the end of Naruto. Chapter 700 is the end, but it's already been announced that I believe in the spring of 2015 we are going to be getting a Naruto miniseries starring the new generation of characters. And
there's a movie as well, which is also.
And there's going to be the last movie, which I believe bridges the gap.
I think so. It's supposed to be more closure for the manga, even though that stuff should have been in the manga.
Yeah, you know, more closure for the manga should be in the manga, but it wasn't because fuck it, who cares? So yeah, that the question here is, what do you think the future will be? And we've kind of talked about this, and
right.
I know you'll agree with me on this. I think what's going to end up happening is we'll get this mini-series in the spring. It's gonna be fucking gangbusters, and it'll keep going.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
The good news about it is that Kishimoto is stepping away from the series to work on other things, at least for the time being.
Yeah.
So,
he'll still be the overseer role,
right.
though, much like Akira Toriyama was on later Dragon Ball stuff.
But it's being handed off to somebody else who might do a better job with the material.
Maybe. We'll see. I worry though that this new set of characters will just not be good. Like
yeah.
I worry that they're going to be the exact same, because you and I had talked about this. There's an interesting question there. Who do you think the main character will be? And I think both of us agree that it should be
Azuma's kid.
What's Asuma's kid? Yeah.
I still don't remember his name.
Who cares? But that character, at least just having it, they didn't really have a lot of information in that epilogue. I think there's more intrigue there than with Naruto's children, because Bolt is just Naruto.
Yeah.
He's Naruto right now, and I fear that he'll be the main character. I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be about Bolt.
Right. The thing with Azuma's kid is that at least there's more of a blank slate, because
yes.
He's not just a copy of his parents.
Yeah, there's something you can do there, and I hope that it's about Asuma's kid, but I got a nasty feeling it will be Bolt.
That's a really far-fetched hope, sadly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's kind of unlikely,
yeah.
But
like, it's what I would do if I was writing it. But
absolutely. But that's pretty much it. Let's wrap this up on kind of a final thought on the series. Like, what are your final words for this series?
I want to say it sucks, but I know it doesn't. It wasn't completely terrible through the whole thing. Like, part 1 had so much promise, and there was a bunch of good parts in Shippuden as well.
Yeah. But
overall, it's just kind of underwhelming, disappointing.
Yeah.
It's quality-wise, I'd say it's pretty average. It's not particularly good. It's not particularly bad, except for like overall quality. There's definitely some specific parts of it that are quite terrible, but overall, I'd say it's just pretty much your average shonen series, and
Yeah.
there's still things I do like about it. There's a lot
Yeah.
I don't like about it, but ultimately, I'm kind of glad it's over.
Quote unquote over.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give my final thoughts on the series. Well, I agree with you that there's definitely some great parts, especially in the original series, and even Shippuden has some good parts as well. There are a lot of terrible parts that make me question why the series was allowed to continue,
Or why it was so popular.
or why it was so popular. Still, in spite of all that, I have to commend Masashi Kishimoto. It's definitely an impressive accomplishment to have a series, kind of break through and go on for 15 years. That's no small feat, and congratulations on making it that far. But that said, I think the bad far outweighs the good with this series. There are so many, like, the worst arcs for me don't entirely, the best arcs don't make up for the worst ones in a lot of cases. One thing I will say is that for me, I've always enjoyed the video games, and I think I'll still get those and play those, because those games are always well made, and I think that's a good way to experience the story, even if it gets a little silly and ridiculous sometimes. But I think I'd have to agree in that I would call it kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
But that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on Naruto, unless you have something else you want to add. I mean, we've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes, so a little bit more really wouldn't hurt.
Just wanted to say, like, speaking of the video games, the last couple of years of the series have been so slow that you're probably only going to get like 1 or 2 new characters in the next one.
Yeah, it'll probably be Kaguya.
Yeah.
You'll probably get Kaguya in the next one, and then the one after that will probably just add all the kids.
Probably.
Yeah, so if you've watched this entire thing, thank you for wasting your time with us. I've been Chris, he's been Gray, and we'll see you next time when we won't be recapping a series that was 15 years long, and it might not be as long of a podcast, but you know what, if you enjoyed listening to us talk, tune into future episodes. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at ChrisTheNerd92. He's at RealGrayBob. And we will see you on the next edition of the Wasting Timecast.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Get to fire right here, right now.